Okay, so today I am going to give this a few seconds, let it roll around, blah, blah, blah. Probably takes like a minute to get to anywhere worth listening to. There we go, the ding ding sound. Okay. So I'm just wait till. Okay, so I'm using a handheld, I'm using a selfie stick, and so as the title of this live today is going to be discussing about how dangerous dogs can be taught how to eat together. So I am going to be feeding raw. I feed raw diet to all my dogs. I don't eat meat myself, but I feed raw to my dogs. They eat about 300 to 350, sometimes 400 pounds a month in raw. So it's quite a lot. So how do I get them to eat together? And I'll talk about why I feed raw, despite the fact that I don't eat meat. And then I'll show you how to integrate dogs so that they can eat raw meat and etc. and all these things. And it all comes down to paying attention to what you're doing. You got to supervise. There's always a misinterpretation of behavior. There's an insecurity or an unsecurity as well. But what we're going to do is I'm going to give them some of these raw beef bones. And then you'll see that they will understand the order of how things are going. So that's kind of cool. I just want to show people, I finally got, I don't know if you can see this, I got my Barry Bonds card. Cost me $1,200 US. So it's retailing right now for about $3,000. One of my friends down in Florida is very good with sports cards, so he just said, buy that one. So I got it. Okay, so I'm going to start feeding them raw. And then you'll see what happens, which is basically they've learned patience. So I will always use all their names so they know what's going on. They've learned patience in the sense that contextually they understand that they will hear their name in order, chronological seniority on how each one arrived in my home. So I'll start with a dog that is, the first one, for example, would be Sammy, then Lincoln, then Minky, then William, then David. So it's all chronological order because the dogs understand who arrived first and who arrived last. And you always want to make sure that your dogs understand that so you maintain a conformity. No, that you maintain confidence in all the dogs. Because you remember when you were a kid and you grew up and you were like, hey, you know what, no fair, the older brother gets this, my younger sister gets that. That's the same context, but in much more of a diluted perspective on how dogs process. So we're always talking about, do dogs think and all that? Absolutely. And the ability for me to be able to feed these raw beef bones, and they're waiting out there in the torn screen door that is 3 weeks old, and they've destroyed it already. They're patiently waiting. So they understand what's going on. I'm changing my different tone, as those of you who have watched this before. I change a different tone when I'm narrating to you so that it doesn't throw off contextual comprehension of what my regular words are when I say their names or I talk to them. So this is contrived voice. And as I say, if I'm going to talk about them chronologically, I'm going to still say their names. And if I know they're visible around here, I'll make eye contact with them. So then it creates self-identity. It builds self-ego, right? That's what we want is our dog to have an ego, self-confidence. That self-confidence that we then create a codependency on, that's healthy, so that whenever your dog gets scared, right? Whenever he or she is scared, she comes to you for help. That's the only reason why a dog will attack another dog or a person is because they're afraid. So the silly stuff about don't give your scared dog a hug, no, your dog comes to you for help. If you turn someone away who needs you in the most desperate of times, and you turn them away, they're never going to trust you again. This is the same thing with our dogs. So it's a process, though, on how they perceive through a conscious construct, right? So I say it's like 1 can of frozen orange juice with 20 cans of water. The dilutable perspective, scalable, so we know when the dog is scared and less scared at the same stimulus, as well as it's trackable, because we can say, okay, well, my dog used to be this scared, now my dog's this scared. And then we can quantify it because the behavior was like this, and now the behavior is like that. So it's trackable, scalable, quantifiable. That's called consciousness, right? Sentience. So if I didn't believe it, I would be dead. The dogs I work with, extremely dangerous, and I don't use medication. They're 150, 200 pounds like David is. He was on 80 milligrams of Prozac and 750 milligrams of trazodone. So I am going to bring them out. I'm going to bring out the meat bones here, and then we're going to integrate them, and you'll see that they will wait patiently and that there's not any issues. So I will go here. All right. David, move please. So I always make an acknowledgement. Thank you. So I asked him to move, so he sees the bones now. So I asked him to move, he moves. I have to acknowledge his behavior. So now we have the other dogs coming here. So I have to be aware of what's going on with them. So I'm going to just switch this over, or actually, I'm going to see if I can just put this down here. David, see how he's watching the food there? David, no, wait please. Wait, David. So I'm going to just swap this out. Sorry, I'm going to just take this out here. So I'm going to feed them, and then you get to see what he does. Okay, all right, so here we go. So it's really Mickey, right? So Mickey doesn't take the bones very often. What I'm going to do is, because Sammy's not here in order, so I'm going to still call her out. So I'm going to say, Sammy. So that, sorry, no, David, go back, please. Go back, please. Thank you. Thank you. So he understands that because only through context. I've taught him the context, the delineation, the behavior, what it means conceptually to go backwards himself, by just literally walking him back every once in a while and making opportunities when he's actually doing something, going backwards on his own. I'm going to say the word so he understands context with physicality. Comprehension is just like we learned how to climb a rope, right? All right, so there's Lincoln. So Sammy hasn't come out, so I'm going to give one to Lincoln. So this is one of the raw beef bones. And we see that there's no fighting. There's no issues right here. They've learned patience. David, who's the newest one here, has every reason to be upset and concerned. David, that's where the meat was, so he still smells that. So we're always cognizant, right? If I'm always conscious what each dog has done, then I can put into context what is happening. So there's no fighting here. David, because then what happens is when he starts to feel issues or concern, or he's unable to process the environment, David, seriously, David. So I'm quite concerned right now for my own safety. So I'm trying to pretend that I'm all right. David. So this is the process that goes on. That's a new experience for me to come down that's low with him because of the camera, the cell phone. So we see this behavior. David is pacing back and forth. That's predatorial. Now, depending on how the dog paces, they pace back and forth. They pace in a triangle. If they pace in a circle, it's all indicative of what the dog's personality is like. For them to be able to trust me and be just simply waiting, patience, concept of time, that process. There he is. David hasn't learned how to be patient. I'm not feeding him. I'm just talking to you all. So my voice is different, as you can tell. There's no David, seriously. That kind of tone. Thank you. So the yawn, cognitive dissipation. So now I'm going to just see that process. He sits down. He shuts down. When you see a dog sitting down, they're shutting down. They can't process. You're never going to see two dogs attack each other and one sits down first. 911 responders show up at an accident scene. They tell the victims, go sit down. Lincoln, you're okay. Wait, here's a noise over there. David, see the behavior? Lincoln. So we see the behavior over here. So see that? So that creates a greater alert on them. See, David. Lincoln, stop, please. Lincoln, stop, please. Lincoln, stop barking. Stop barking. Thank you, Lincoln. Right. So then the tone and the words change. So he understands that the word stop, his name is just to be comprehensively cogent, go, okay, to stop the action. Because he's not doing it, then I have to be much more definitive by saying the word itself so that he has more strength of cogency to that word. So then there's a comprehension from what he's learned before to now. So he understands the word as his name, S-T-O-P, and then as the B-A-R-K-I-N-G. He understands those words. See, David, stop, seriously. Thank you. Out, please. So that's a process, past process as well as emotion. So I'm going to give them the thing. So Lincoln, I'm going to give you this one. So you see that? The patience, David, wait please, David. And I'm going to give him Minky, David. Right, so he waits now. He waits patiently. David, wait, okay, Minky, come please. So Minky and David, as you know, here, Minky. No, William, stop please. No, William. Minky, Minky, there you go. Thank you, Minky. So, David, 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 right? So we said that. Wait, David, right? So there we go. Stop, please, right? So I feel a little bit concerned, but I have to come back down again. People have seen videos of me with Nero and Tonka and Walter, very close, about to go for my throat and stuff like that. So I bring myself back down. You can hear the quivering in my voice right now. Here you go, William. There you go, silly boy. So I'm still keeping it in the higher range, but I'm still trying to keep calm. Okay, David. Hi, silly boy. David. There you go, silly boy. Hi, silly boy. Right? So that's like almost a 1 pound. You go ahead, right? So that's almost a 1 pound piece of bone and meat and all that stuff. So now they're right here. There's Mickey down there. And they're being able to behave, right? So there's no fighting. They understand that I'm here to keep them protected. So if any issues happen, right? So I'm watching there, I'm listening at all times, just like a parent listening for a child in the other room. That's the same process. You got to remember that they are predators, innate predators. So when they become domesticated in our home, it's because we've done it. It's our responsibility. And when the dog becomes dangerous, it's not their fault. They're behaving normally. They're behaving like predators. They get upset, to hurt them, to beat them, to medicate them, to choke collar them, to kill them. Doesn't make sense, does it? How am I able to integrate all these dogs? Minky, the worst dog out of over 20,000 dogs rescued by Animal Hope and Wellness Foundation in Los Angeles. They reached out only to me out of all the trainers and behaviorists and PhDs in North America. I'm the only one. Same with Tonka. Walter from the newspaper attacked 16 people in New York, 183 pounds, 3 feet 2 inches at the shoulders, standing height on hind legs over 6 feet 6 inches. 16 people he attacked. Dragged her shelter worker into his kennel to kill her. Partially blind and deaf from being beaten so hard. So how do I deal with these things? Is by addressing the physical behavior as you would a parent with a child or an adult helping somebody. That simple structure of help, that simple language, right? Yesterday I said the words, I'm going to change the tone up here again. It's like stop, wait, stay. Those words are conscious words of abstract time. So now here's the thing, is okay, people say, well, how do dogs process time? And the scientists are like, blah, 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 blah. It's an abstract process, right? Just like consciousness. The abstract process is like a slideshow in the old time slide projectors, so that the thought processes are coming in at any time frame. It's abstract, right? It's kind of like a live motion film in abstract, and then there are frames of memory structures, right? Emotive templates. When I talk about consciousness, the emotive templates, if you've been watching what I said, which are somewhat stronger and somewhat weaker in the process of familiarity, etc. You know, that's why your dog gets triggered in a certain neighborhood, because they start recognizing sights and sounds, because of the topography aspect of how they process two-dimensional, their field of vision two-dimensionally before it gets into the stereophonic aspect, right, of 3D vision. All these processes are going through your dog's head as they're having these familiarities and unfamiliarities of experiences. So when I work with them, I let them understand that I'm there to manage whatever happens. I'm always watching to see for any nuances or misinterpretations of behavior. And when that happens, I step right in. And people know I have physically stepped in with quite great concern for myself. But I have to, because it's my responsibility. And I don't go out there and start beating them, and I start whacking them. There's a certain way to kick a dog off with the heel of your foot and with your physics, so that way you have momentum and force, as opposed to kicking them. You can break their bones, etc., cause internal damage, etc. Yeah, you think, okay, well, the dog's fighting, but you want to make sure you don't cause damage, especially if it's your own dog. Yet you have to stop. And you want to hit them with blunt force against the harder part of the hips. You don't want to hit them in the rib cage, nothing. That part is extremely incorrect to do, quite dangerous. So trust me, I've been there before. I'm trying to break up Great Danes. They're just freaking slamming furniture around and all that. So how do I keep them together and feed them and all that? It's a lot of hard work, absolutely. But being predators, they can learn to live together, right? That's why you can see the familial structure out there in the wild, where they can all eat together, so to speak. Even if there's it's not a tier system. It's a seniority aspect, chronological seniority, birthright. That kind of behavior, if you look at the structure, because that's how the wolf pack begins. It's family. So when we create a description of pack, we create a two-dimensional, shallow interpretation of behavior and consciousness itself. We don't look at the aspect that the dogs can actually get along and eat raw meat together, and there's no behavior. You'll see Minky start to circle over around David's area to see if there's any, stuff out there. There may be some concerns. If I see that happening or hear it happening, I'm going to turn over and make a mention. So we have Lincoln over there. He's eating that part, and then there's William, David, and then Minky's out there, and Sammy hasn't come out, so she must be in the other room napping. So all these things that are happening are really quite simple. The structure, I have to stop. So the structure has to be, so there's Minky's going to come out there. He wanted to take, this is Sammy's thing, and so you can have Minky. Minky, hi silly boy. So this was always quite dangerous too. He would take the food and then bite my hand, and he would do a lot of other things. He would chase me down and a whole bunch of stuff, back me up quite often. If I had to touch him, he'd turn around and nip me quite often. And then, as I said before, I always have to keep my hand straight. So this here is a great example, right? So I'm just going to shift there, and I'm going to talk over the airplane there. I'm going to say their names and all that stuff, like Lincoln and Minky and William and David. I'm going to look at their, so what I'm doing is I'm objectifying the sound. So you see an airplane went by. So you see that your dog's getting scared of thunder. So why does the thunder shirt work? It's because of hypersensitivity, and the aspect that when you put a thunder shirt onto your dog, you create a compression aspect, so your dog is no longer having to focus psychologically on all the input, right? Because if you touch your dog in a little bit at the back of their skin, of their tail, they turn around right away, right? The dangerous dog will turn instantly. So what happens then is your dog is dysfunctional and unable to process because of agoraphobic behavior or introverted behavior being exhibited, right, as an extroverted expression of, okay, don't touch me, or I can't comprehend, and the dog starts to shut down. So then the thunder shirt helps to suppress the dog's ability to cogently process beyond, right? So, okay, I don't have to worry about all this stuff now because I feel that hug. Now that does not it does not conform to my reset hugs in that point of it, because with my reset hugs are something that I didn't even know about thunder shirts to begin with. But on top of that, it's the fact that it allows you respiratory behavior feedback and all those kinds of things. You can feel musculature structure, you can feel behavioral intent, all that kind of stuff. You can see paw position, all those incredible things that exhibit conscious behavior in any dog or any animal. And as you know, I've worked with llamas and cats and stuff like that, right? But of course, dogs, they're always the first ones to be killed. So the process of really being able to let them understand each circumstance that happens, so that way when they do have kind of memory thoughts, right, that the Gossamer slideshow projector thoughts, it starts to create that reinforcement, right, again, imprinting, no, but reinforcement. Oh, I revisited this, I've been here before, I've learned the same experience, and the adrenaline that I feel, the psychological aspects and the cogency that I am processing, which is quite difficult as a sophisticated type of emotion. Then your dog goes, okay, and then we help guide them through, like the hug, for example, or talking through and saying their name, because when you're giving them a hug, you say their name in a very calm voice, like that part, like, hi Minky, right? So that tone of voice that's happening. And then there's William and Lincoln and David. So then they hear everything. If I'm going to say one dog, I'm going to say them all. If I say them out of order, then I'm going to try to put them back in the conformity of my own end. It's my responsibility to maintain chronological seniority, and at the random times always to break up those words. These are cogency structures. These are not the point of teaching a dog how to do performative tricks like fetch and roll over. Those are predestined outcomes. Your dog knows, I go get the ball, I come back, wah wah. Realistically, you want cogency out there. So and I'm going to get back to that part because not planes out there. You want cogency so your dog understands that there's a reason why they're doing something. Make your dog emotionally rich. So like the snuffle rugs and all that stuff, where the dog's searching for the stuff, unbelievably useless. The dog is always on that way anyhow. All you've done is created a contrived atmosphere. It doesn't cogently process for your dog. Okay, I'm just doing what I normally do anyways. All right, thanks. There's no cogency. There's other aspects of structures, textural aspects that I would ever talk about if there was a product aspect on that part. So I talk about the objectification of the sound and all that stuff, and the reason why is because it allows your dog to understand that I, the parent, the human being, the incredibly godlike creature to our dog who relies on us for food, water, outside, walks, everything, right? Vet, things, discipline, everything. It's still important that I can identify with something that even if it scares me. So for example, if it's an airplane that's going by, etc., it's going to seem scary to my dogs. So I'm going to objectify. See, they're not barking, they're not kind of quivering, they're not getting upset, because I have objectified where the sound's coming from, and I track it, so that allows my dog to create because he's got a dysfunction in his physics process of saying, well, why is the object moving, and whereas the sound is discoordinated. So there is no connection for your dog to cogently understand why that sound disconnect is going on. So when we put it together, by objectifying the sound, by me pointing it up while I'm talking to them, then they understand I'm tracking the sound, and they start going, oh, that's where the sound's coming from. Then they realize not the fact that there's a disconnect in physics, but that I have it under control. The structure of that is much more complicated. I could get into way more detail, but then people kind of go, wah, and then I lose viewers. So I always simplify things on that construct of consciousness. So that's why the objectification happens. That's why you see my videos with Minky, for example, and this is when he was just here a couple of months, extremely skittish dog, stress defecation, attacking people, couldn't live with other dogs, nobody at all, couldn't even be touched except for his handler, couldn't be taken outside. Extreme. You watch the videos in 36 hours, what happens without treats and medication. So he's in the room with all the other dogs, and there's fireworks going off, and the fireworks are freaking loud because the fireworks are for Canada Day or Independence Day, whatever, and it's going boom, 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 and you can hear it. Mickey is shivering like crazy, but all the dogs aren't even barking. Some are scared and shivering, and I just calmly say their name. So they hear the sound of my voice, because I've identified, even when I talk about the noise area here, which is a car going by, I'm going to identify it. So that way they understand why I'm still having a conversation with this mysterious cell phone that I'm in love with, apparently more than them, that they understand, oh, okay, see how close Mickey is over there? Oh, you probably can't see him. He's literally saying near David here. Let me just put this out here. So there's Minky right there, the dangerous one, or they're all dangerous. And let me just put this, I'm going to put this on the thing. So if I teach the dogs that I know what's going on with the sound, then they don't have any fear. Because when they hear the sound of my voice, even like a sound like that, I'm going to raise my tone of voice so they hear me better. And because I raise the volume, not the sound. Because you hear that in the dog parks, right? And the dog's like, well, your mom's always screaming, dad's always yelling. Well, what's the use of listening, because they're already at 10 out of 10. So when I see sounds and all that stuff, I make acknowledgement for our dog. All of them here. So that way they hear that I have not just in control of it, but I'm like, okay, whatever. And if it does get them scared, it makes them focus and listen to the tone of my voice so they hear it better. Hi, silly boy. So then there's another vehicle out there. So that is a generic term, right? So it applies to any of them because they're all males. So then I always use a simplification of words in conversation so that the cogency is easier for the dog to understand in either the abstract format of memory, recollection, and comparative, or cogency structure where the dog is then creating construction and fantastical process of what they're imaging and thinking of what might be happening. So versus the performative of, hey, go fetch, now it's an aspect of cogency where the dog is now going, where have I felt like this before, and how do I, oh my gosh. Okay, so you saw with David pacing back and forth, right to my face, right beside Lincoln and then William, that structure of quite unhappiness, I address it that way by patience and letting them know that they can learn. So that patience is self-taught, right? Self-taught, it's cogency, it's self-taught. How do I calm myself down? Oh, right, okay. And how does that get taught? Is by me teaching them beforehand and intervening like a son of a gun, like a ninja. I have to intervene immediately. If I don't intervene at every single time, then the breakdown of trust occurs. Then the fights happen and the viciousness happens. And when the viciousness happens, it takes a very long time for that to come back down again, because the dogs have animosity. And then that animosity can be dealt with as well. I mean, they've all fought, they've all tried to kill each other, some have done some serious damage. So how do I work that down again is literally by teaching the dogs that I'm supervising, and that if they were to fight again, that I'll get involved. And like I said, yesterday's live is how I address that from getting them involved is by calmly addressing both dogs at the same time. Letting them know that their issues are not going to cause them danger, that I'm going to get upset. What's the use of me getting upset at them when then they learn not just to fear my voice, but to ignore it? Because, well, if I'm going to get upset when they're fighting, trying to kill each other, well, then who cares? I might as well just go full bore and kill my brother, my sibling, or a dog that I see in the park, because they're going to scream at me anyways. How many people like that, you know, if you're like that, I say that's this Thelma and Louise movie, right? You know, they hold hands and they drive off the cliff and they say, screw it, we're just going to go full whatever. Or Tropic Thunder, you know, Tropic Thunder, Simple Jack, totally thing, like that. So then the dogs don't have any reason not to do something or listen, because they know you're going to stop them violently. They have no feeling of recrimination. They don't feel the fact that, oh my gosh, there's something latent there that I have to think about. Wait a minute, this is wrong. That's how they work out this way. Cogency structures, right? That thinking, I gotta stand up here. It's a cogency structure that happens. The dogs are able to process and make emotions because that abstract exists in that endothermic brain structure, right? The warm-blooded brain structure, endotherms. It exists. The level of consciousness exists. Your dog exhibits jealousy, envy. That's a complex emotion. It only exists in similarities of biology, endothermic. So that map structure of the autonomous abstract is occurring there, where your dog can process things as they learn. There's absolutely no way. And all those things here, I just gotta say, it's just so they don't run over the part of the patio that's broken, because my landlord would kill me, because having anyone rent to a guy with 5 Great Danes and they're always dangerous, or 3 Great Danes, they're always dangerous. Nobody goes, oh yeah, hey, by the way, can you sign on to the liability here? So anyways, so you can see them all here. They're all hanging out. And eventually they'll start to get bored. There's Minky, who is hanging out right there in between. Minky's doing his Forrest Gump, you know, at the lake, looking out over the water. You can hear the thing. So this is the structure that happens, right? So I can go up to like William. I'm not going to do this because I don't need to show off. I could go up to Lincoln. I could kind of go up to David. I can stand beside David. And I talked about that like 2 or 3 episodes ago, about trust, and how I got Tonka not to try to attack me when I came into just the archway of the room 40 feet away from where he was eating. He would come after me, standing over 6 feet 6 inches on hind legs. He's the one who dragged that shelter work into the kennel to try to kill her. Hello, Mr. Minky. Hi, Minky. So he understands his name. You can't just say the dog is dumb or stupid. That's not performative. Minky, see? Hi, silly boy. He looks at me with a tone of voice that I wouldn't see. I use a regular voice. Hi, silly boy. Hello, silly boy. Hi, silly boy. So I have to now use this because I made the context happen. That's why I use a different voice, so that way you don't hear the same problems that would happen otherwise. Hello, Minky. Hi, silly boy. Hi, silly boy. So you saw what happened when you see him walking back here. I said his name, and then he went over here, and I said it a different way, and he looked back. And if you watch the video again, you'll see him looking exactly the same way that you or I would look when someone says your name. It's really that quite simple. We create context, and that context has to come from emotions, right? Emotions. The emotions comes from dependency, and the greatest, most amazing dependency is codependency through an egocentric healthiness. That your dog understands, hey, anytime I'm scared, anytime I need help, instead of me getting upset, I can just come to my, hello, silly boy. So even though I didn't say anything, didn't do anything, he happened to look just due to the sound, I'm going to make an acknowledgement as he turned over there, so that way he understands egocentrism. Then he understands who he is by me saying his name, by me making acknowledgement, by me making objectification of my tone and voice, just like you do with the airplane. When you have thunder happening, I want to say that last part is when you have thunder happening, you talk the same way as you would talk towards the airplane. You'll see it makes a huge difference. You won't need a thunder shirt. Then later on here, you know, it's going on, your dogs won't even be concerned about it because they're self-regulating, because they've learned through the experience, wait a minute, that sound, I can feel it, I don't know where it's coming from, but I'm not scared of it anymore. Because my human was like, oh, it's just saying in a regular voice. Reminded me, it's just like that airplane, right? So we have that part, and we have a helicopter going up there. So again, I make acknowledgement. The minute I hear it, I make acknowledgement. It lets them all know that they don't have to worry about it. I got their back. It's trust. That's why, again, if a dangerous dog is going to go after someone or another dog, it's because they feel threatened. Realistically, so we look at the dysfunctions why threat is happening. Insecurity, self-esteem issues, codependent issues, interdependency issues, modular dependency issues, where interdependency, right, with the dog, modular interdependency, where the dog can only just stay with one person and that's it, and it takes them a very long time to get to somebody else and somebody else. And then I have the other aspect of ladder modular interdependency, where the dog is only being with one person, and then the next best person shows up. Oh wait, oh now you're going to dad now, and that kind of behavior. That's another structure of dysfunction that occurs for the dog, for insecurity, to start looking for another person to be with. You bridge that into the human psychosis. Oh my gosh, we know people who go out with guys like that, etc. You're like, well, why does she keep doing that? That's the same part. And then we go, oh, that's probably why she does it, because of this issue or that issue, etc. The same thing when we do with dogs, and the structure of how their parenting and their history comes from. So that's why a dog that kind of has that ladder modular interdependency is a dog that is extremely intelligent and highly fragile, highly low self-esteem. Hello, silly boy. Hi, Minky. So always want Minky to know, hi, silly boy. Hi, Minky. So this is the ever elusive, ever difficult Jindo to deal with. And if I go, hey, Minky, hi, silly boy. Hi, silly boy. So then anyone who knows that, hi, silly boy. So that okay, I'm going to explain what that actually means. And so he does a back stretch as well. So, hi, Minky, hi, silly boy. Hi, silly boy. Hi, silly boy. So I'm saying his name and I'm moving very quickly. Anyone who has a Jindo, anyone who has a dog like extremely dangerous, extremely skittish, etc., like Minky is, then what'll happen is that kind of movement would make him screech and try to bite or dart away really quickly. He's used to my behavior because I've created it as a normal type of behavior around him by creating physical structures where there's a foundational straight. Hi, William. There's William here, and we will see where Minky had just gone over and picked up William's bone. Hi, Minky, and then there's William right here, and William knows. So because he knows that if he wants his bone back, then I can get it for him if he wanted to, but he also learned that, well, too bad, because I've said to him, Minky has it now. I didn't barter with him, I didn't have a conversation with him, I didn't try to negotiate with him. I gave him a matter-of-fact statement on a context at a simple child's level of comprehension. Because if I do that, that means the intention on my own vocalization, my own tone of voice is always going to be quite simplistic, because then I'm thinking, well, I'm talking to a child, which I am for the rest of their 10, 12, 15, 7 years of life. So I have to maintain this nonverbal fluency that works with them. So every single dog, no matter how dangerous, this guy has bitten me. He's 105 pounds. He's bitten me. He's bitten me and nipped me a number of times. He's gotten quite upset with me. But it's trust. Because as with anybody, right? You know, if you ever fall in love with somebody so amazing, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how cool he is, right? Oh my gosh, I love this person so amazing. I've never felt this kind of love before. And you start to get trust, and you went, oh, wait a minute, I don't know. Maybe you start pulling back, right? And you get a little bit nervous. You're like, okay, well, maybe this is not, maybe it's too real. Maybe it's impossible. So that's what happens with dogs as well. You think all of a sudden, oh, they're in a great, oh, we're doing great. And all of a sudden my dog suddenly attacked me or whatever. What happens is that they get to an emotional structure where they haven't had time to process, and they're literally asking you not to do so. And they make behaviors where you're not paying attention to the nuances. You might feel them stiffen up, etc. That's why when I talk about doing a reset hug, it allows you to feel the physicality and their tension to help calm them down. Just like that child that's having that crazy time at the birthday party, and you have to call them over and calm them down and give them a hug, and they're like, oh wait, am I in trouble? And you're like, no, just I wanted to talk to you about something. Make up that excuse. You do that with your dog without having to make up an excuse. You just do it overtly so that they feel that you are protecting them, that you're feeling safe. And if you are letting them feel safe, then they don't need to feel worried, and they will come to you every time for protection. If they think they're going to be turned away or that they're going to have to defend themselves, why would they come to you? Just the logic, not only the emotive or illogical structure of that, right? Why would they come to you if you're not going to protect them? Why would they try to attack another dog if they thought you had it in hand? Would you ever phone somebody, like I said, and depend on them, and then that one time you really needed them for everything and they just ignored you? They didn't answer your phone calls or text messages. You're like, what the hell? It's the same structure. I talk about the $20 analogy. You lend your friend $20. A week goes by, doesn't pay you back. 2 weeks go by, doesn't pay you back. 3 weeks go by, you know he's working. So you're like, hey man, right? And he doesn't pay you back. 2 months later, you see him out there, you know, skiing. And you're like, hey, saw you on, you know, Facebook skiing. Right? And he's all sheepish, and then he pays you back the $20. The trust is gone. Because when is the next time you're going to lend your friend $20 again? That same guy who took 2 months to pay you only because you caught him. The trust is gone. With our dogs, that structure is with humans. So the ones I deal with, their trust is gone with a whole bunch of people, plethora or plethora, whichever if you're Canada or American. I just said it the other day just to bug people here now. Right? They're expecting you to protect them. Look at this. Hi, silly boy. Hi, William. Hi, silly boy. Hyperventilating. You see him start to swallow because he's not unable to process. And there's Minky. No. No, Minky. No, Minky. Not funny. Not funny. Hi, Minky. See, he recognizes himself. Do you see how he recognizes himself as well? Cogency, because I've taught him, he's learned through working with mirrors just by using work passively, so he now understands who he is in the mirror. So when you saw him, if you do the video back, you can see him look at himself. Hi, silly boy. You can see him looking at himself in the cell phone and recognizing himself. That recognition, that double movement, that's very, very minute. Cogency, emotive structures, right? That's consciousness. I'm proving this all the time. So you see this part, what happened with William, and he turned his head in, and he turned his head away. Why did he turn his head away? Well, Minky was threatening him. As I turned right there, you can see Minky's trying to go for his bum to attack him. Because Minky's opportunistic because he's unable to process complex emotions. He's unable to process, and he feels that it is something that he has to address because he doesn't know how to self-regulate it, how to self-process that. And that's why I've talked about that cement structure of emotions. I have to make him and force him to do emotive aspects of behavior that are out of his own nature. That way he learns, oh my gosh, I had to do this and I'm okay still. So I take that risk on him. I cannot do that if I'm using treats or medication or prong collar or anything like that. It would never ever work. It wouldn't work right here. How did I do it? I just talked to them. So that whole process, when William turns his head away, is because he expects me to protect him. So what do? I put my hand further out there to protect his body. It's symbolic. No, it's physiologically received. Just like that undershirt aspect of the misconception why they have, you know, he's understanding that I'm there and my hand is solid. It's not moving all over the place. I'm not patting him and overstimulating him, right? Don't forget, he's alert. He knows he almost got bitten himself because he was trusting me to protect him. Just like the food and everything. Resource guarding issues. There's William walking right by Lincoln. And there's Minky right beside Lincoln now. Minky, hi Lincoln, hi silly boy. And that's acknowledging for all parties there that I know what's going on. And then there's David over here, I'm gonna say his name, and then William wherever he is. Oh, William's out there going pee. And then Sammy's still inside. So the acknowledgement so that they all hear their name. Egocentric behavior. That's how you teach them to know who they are. So they no longer are performative, go, hey, Rex, go fetch. Right? It's the part that where they start to think, and when you say their name, they hear it and they go, okay, I can calm down. I don't have to get upset. I can be patient. Because my human's voice has always made me feel calm by the reset hug and all these things. Here comes, hello, Mr. David. Hello, silly boy. See that's almost a full 1,001 second for him to walk by. So he's a very graceful, long dog, elongated. And there he is looking for bones. Hello, Mr. David. So then as I hear him moving, an acknowledgement, I make an acknowledgement of his behavior so that it lets the other dogs as well, then I'm aware that David is on the move. You see the pacing that's happening again now. He's looking for more food. He eats about 4 to 5 pounds of raw meat a day. Absolutely massive. He has come after me a few times in the beginning. It took almost 2 hours for me to get into my vehicle with him in the back seat muzzled. That's how scared I was. Hi, David. See, he's going back there towards Lincoln there, and this is confrontational aspect. There you go, silly boy. Hi, David. And then the water is there. The water is not put there for any other reason than it's out of the shade. Lincoln just happens to coincidentally be sitting there. So when I make an acknowledgement and I turn back all the time, there you have. Lincoln is eating that raw beef bone, as you've known the whole time. Everyone's walked past him. And then there's David that's over there, and I make acknowledgement. Hi, David. Hi, David. I make acknowledgement for him. Then he understands, oh, wait, okay, cool. We're being watched, right? We're being supervised. And they know that if something does happen, they're not getting in trouble. If they think that they're being supervised and they're going to get, put into a kennel, etc., all these things, then they're going to go, oh, I might as well just go full at it then. Oh, and there's one thing I'll try to remember is about happy tail. Such an easy psychological issue to fix. So super duper simple. You don't have to do amputations anymore. And it's only due to a psychological process of behavior. It's a cognitive structure that the dog is unable to process a heightened level of emotion. And I can show you guys, and I'll do that in the next episode if I remember. If someone puts in the comments and I'll remember, otherwise I'm going to forget and stray off again. But it's the easiest way to help every single dog with happy tail. All my dogs come here, they all have had happy tail. Same with David and same with Tonka. They've all had happy tail. And actually Tonka chewed off his tail twice. So it's just a little nub and all that stuff. But you can tell by the behavior how it moves because they have the flexibility. It's a behavior aspect that's physiological, representative of what the dog is thinking, cognitive process, etc. That part where Minky earlier, I want to get back to that part because I've got to finish this. When Minky stretched out and all stuff, that downward dog thing, that's not a play behavior, just see that. It's a cognitive preparatory behavior on his end. It's anticipatory. That's why your dog does that. It's anticipatory behavior so that they understand the structure of what's going on, so they stretch out in the point of, okay, let me just see, right? Kind of like that Bruce Lee thing where he starts to flex out and all that. That kind of behavior is the same psychology that will happen. And if you physically do it yourself, you know how you're laying in bed and you wake up and you're like, I stretch out. What do you feel? That process is going to be physiologically the same because psychosomatically, right, through the endothermic biology, right, that structure of the map brain and the receptive aspects of the nerves and nervous systems and all the inputs, right, the psychosomatic, whatever physiological structures, blah, 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 all that stuff, it's going to have the same effect on all types of behavior, all types of animals, depending on the level of advancement, right? Horses love to be scratched. Cats. Why? Because again, they can feel the emotion. It feels good. That's the same thing how dogs process pain, right? There has to be a cogent relational process for the dog to understand what pain feels. There has to be contextual aspect of it. Otherwise, it becomes a redundant or rhetorical application of the pain going, well, there's no response or there's no output for it. There's no relational addressment of it because it just exists without any manifestation. Then it gets exhausted as a bland behavior because, like, well, it doesn't mean anything. So that's how, a bit more complicated about that, about pain processing, just like time. All these things are really quite simple structures. Because if you understand that's why it's happening. There's Minky right there. There's Dave right here. So he's got concern. Again, I leave those poles out there so that way no one breaks through the floor, especially David being 200 pounds and that being on one big paw print can create a lot of compression on the ground. My landlord will kill me. So that's why Minky stretches out like that. All right, a downward dog. No, it's not downward dog. It's not a play behavior. It's because, again, he is stretching out because he is cognitively preparing in anticipation of something. Stretching out, letting it all out, just like we do, just like you see Bruce Lee does in his movies. So that's that behavior. When you see them doing that during playtime, like you've seen the silly British scientists, academic reports and all this silly stuff, right, where they're jumping around and, oh, the dog is playing, they've quartered it down to like, 1/10 or less of a second and all that stuff to see the behavior happening. Here we go, the behavior right there. Minky, Hi, silly boy. Thank you, Minky. Hi, silly boy. So there's that point, and then I'm going to address it with Minky again by, hi, silly boy. There we go right here. David is checking out. David, you're okay, because David feels anxiety. He's unable to process what's going on a bit. Hi, Minky. Hi, silly boy. So I'm going to go over to David here, right, which is always a difficult thing. Hi, silly boy. So because you can see his behavior, so he thinks he's in trouble. So I'm just going to squat down for a little bit here, and just, so he doesn't know what's happening. And of course, I'm not going to get any closer at this point in time, because just between Minky and him became heightened. Normally I can be almost as close to him and he won't have any issue. So I understand and respect his nonverbal fluency, where he looked up and went, dude, really? Right? Let's face it, that if you watch the video again, you'll be like, and he's looking like, dude. So that's a nonverbal fluency. If you're paying attention to that, you're like, oh, hey, that makes sense. Just like you can finish someone's sentences because you can watch the behavior. Like, okay, he's going to say this. Look at the face. Look at the whole body. Just do it. It's the same thing here. So I'm going to get up here. I'm going to walk over there. So the downward dog aspect, when you see the dog kind of doing that, the play bow and all that behavior, it's not that. It's literally a representation of a jab. Watch the behavior. If you look at the dog doing a play bow, then you go, oh, the dog's dumb and stupid. Right? Oh, the dog is just play bowing. Wait a minute, dude. They've been doing that since they were innate predators, you know, evolution, man. That's why I said this British scientists, they're just, the academics don't understand, because they don't work with extremely dangerous dogs, you know, especially without treatments and medication. These are dogs that have tried to kill people, literally. So the play bow aspect of what happens is, if you watch the videos of all that stuff, it's predation. It's predatorial behavior. It's predation that dog is exhibiting through evolution. It's not play bow, because then that play bow would only apply to the dogs playing with each other. Well, why would it not apply to actual fights? We've seen that happening with actual fights between dogs. They drop down. Anticipatory behavior. Like I said, the morning stretch, downward dog. It's anticipatory behavior, right? They drop down. You see them jabbing when they do the play bow in a quicker motion. That play bow, again, it's not. It's a jab of behavior. You see them go, watch the video. They immediately move so quickly to see and gauge the reaction of their opponent. That's what the jab is. If we look at the stupidity of going, well, the dog is playing around, then you completely miss the entire evolutional structure of what habit and behavior. William, you're okay, right? So we go, Minky, Lincoln, Minky, no, Minky. Thank you, Lincoln. Oh, sorry, guys. Thank you, Lincoln. You're okay, Lincoln. Hi, Dave. So now see, David comes to me. He comes back. You're okay, silly boy. You're okay. So we see that, and we see paw position is going to change, etc. All that stuff. You're okay, David. I got you. Minky's at his bone. Okay, there you go. You're okay, David. David. So he sees Minky over at his bone. David, Minky. Oops. Sorry. Lincoln, no. Lincoln, no. Lincoln. No, Lincoln. So the tone of voice. Lincoln, no. Stop. Seriously. Thank you, David. Right, come on. No, and then Minky's starting to circle around here again. There he goes. Right? So there you go. So I'm just going to give David a hug. Hi, silly boy. You're okay. Well, I can feel his respiratory behavior, how strong his his muscles, his musculature structure is, his gait, right? He's quite heavy, and then Minky's walking right here. Look at this. So he's concerned that Minky will hurt him. You're okay. And then Lincoln comes to the... Okay, stop, please. No, David, not funny. Whoops, sorry, guys. So there we go. So we have... Oops, that's my fault. Sometimes it gets a little bit tense here. But again, like I talked about before, is if you're always addressing things right away, then they understand that they're okay. So now Lincoln is back to chewing the bone. It's a meaty bone, because I always give Lincoln the nicer bone because he's older and he doesn't have much time, unfortunately. I don't know if he'll make it this year, to be honest with you. It's quite stressful. But there's David, and he's drinking water, right? And I've talked about dogs drinking water because it's a psychosomatic structure as well. It's a little self-esteem issue sometimes. It's other aspects of satiating other dysfunctions that the dog is processing. So we have here a little bit of an attention. Hide. Minky! So we see Minky, right? Minky was, as you saw, he was hiding there to attack. David, Minky. Lincoln. David, you're okay. David. Thank you, David. Thank you, Dave. And then there's William right here. So it's just conversational structure, right? Here's Lincoln. Hello, silly boy. So now Lincoln comes here because he wants to feel okay again. So I'm going to give Lincoln affection and all that. Normally what I would do is I'd pick up a little bit through his mid rib cage here because he has lordosis, right? Sway back here. So I'm basically, normally I would pick it up a little bit to give him relief, and then just to massage his spine just a little bit. So that way, see, David's taking his bone. So then this way it allows Lincoln to have a specific type. Hi, silly boy. Hi, silly boy. So then it allows Lincoln to have a specific type of feeling, right, when he gets his hugs. Lincoln, so he doesn't know it's on. Lincoln, Minky, no. So Lincoln really like, no, Lincoln. No, Lincoln. Thank you, Lincoln. Thank you, Lincoln. So it's not the age aspect either of the dog, all these things. Hi, Mickey. Hi, silly boy. So Mickey was coming over here. So I don't want him to go unrequited. You know, that unrequited love. So in other words, he wants affection and attention. I'm not going to not acknowledge it. So I'm going to make the effort. If he doesn't come over, he doesn't come over. Mickey. Hi, silly boy. Oops. Here you go. Sorry, guys. Hi, silly boy. Hi, silly boy. Right? So, hi, silly boy. So then I'm going to give him affection. Right, so that way he feels what's going on. Hi, silly boy. See how his blink behavior is as he's trying to process, right? So as I say, he will think to the right hand side of his tail. So this is right hand side on his tail because of the reverse image. See the process, and then as the cognitive behavior on his end, the right hand side happens. Hi, silly boy. When I used to do that before, he used to attack me because he didn't know what the feeling was like. So hi, silly boy. So always the structure happens for the dog to learn. And when the dog learns that things are okay and we don't behave the way that they expect, which is not to attack them back or hit them or yell at them or scream at them because they expect every human being to do so, then they learn trust. When I'm giving them all food and all that, in the beginning, it's extremely dangerous, really significant issues. And, you know, and then after that point in time, they start to learn trust. I don't freak out on them. I don't get angry at them. I teach them trust. You know, so maybe it's a reflection of how I learned in my own life, but it is again trust. So I'm you know, it's amazing to see the change that happens with dogs who people have said absolutely no way, right? Like Tonka he was turned down by Dr. Rebecca Ledger, who writes for the Vancouver Sun, and I'm like, well, he's easy. Because it's just a simple structure. So now there's a sound coming through, so I'm going to just raise my tone of voice a little bit more so that they hear me and they know everything's okay. So someone just missed their gear as they careening down the hill. Yeah, so all the behavior can be addressed. It's really quite simple. You just see what I'm doing, and I'm very calm about it. That has to happen too if you're trying to break up a dangerous situation. Then your dog understands you're the voice of reason, so to speak. Because everything in this world, especially the dog that's kind of kept alone or tied up or in a cage for food, like Minky or, you know, then they have to learn that we can protect them. That way they don't have to fight for us, right? Because if we're not proving to them that we're protecting them, they're going to fight. They're going to attack. If they feel that we're saving them and protecting them and keeping them away from danger, they're going to be like, okay, you got it, right? You got it. It's not easy to change a predator. But damn, you know, it can happen very easily. So I gotta get this. Oh, there's some flies on William here. So that's what happens is we teach him how to do things, even like kind of stuff like that. Hi, silly boy. Hi, William. See, I'm not even moving my hand. Right? The breathing aspects of it, those are psychosomatic. As I said earlier, he'll swallow and his respiratory behavior will change. Watch the video. That's his behavior. Because he's processing emotional structures that are complex for him. Just like I said, all this other stuff, we're learning patience in the abstract, etc. William, you're okay. Hi, silly boy. Right? The conversation that happens with him. He was left in Mexico tied up in a backyard. All the water was gone, all the food was gone, obviously. So they brought him up here, a rescue brought him up here. And he tried killing 2 dogs, like literally tried killing 2 different dogs two different people. So they said, do you want him, or, you know? And I went, yeah. And then he was tried attacking all the other dogs and blah 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 and all that stuff. He didn't try attacking Walter though. Walter was too big for him. I mean, look how David doubles outsizes William, and William's 105. So anyways, all these things happen, right? We just got to let them understand that we're going to keep them protected. We have to fake the calmness, right? In the beginning there, where David's right beside my head, those things are very freaking scary. Like, I'm really, like, I'm not even embellishing. I'm very scared of what happens. So, you know, don't put yourself in that. I have to say, disclaimer: don't put yourself in any risk where you can be injured or harmed, you know, or killed, right? But so these guys, just be calm. Use a tone of voice, simplicity. Always say their name. There's a thing on my website under. It's an old thing under free help for your dogs, or articles. It's under articles, vlogs, and then if you look on the articles, it's a subheading called you know, how to help your dog cope with their boredom during COVID. The title was done because this person who works with Oprah Winfrey and Ryan Seacrest and all that stuff had given me some advice on stuff. Anyways, so it'll tell you in 11 simple steps on how to teach your dog to learn their name. And 2 of them are for dogs that have hearing or vision issues, because that's always something I'm always sensitive about. Like, for example, here in Vancouver, the city of Vancouver, I filed a human rights complaint against the city of Vancouver for the lack of disabled parking here. This is back in the late 2010, early, you know, whatever, that era. And because there was no disabled parking here. It's less than, literally, than a dozen for a city that has over 60,000 parking spots. So I filed a complaint. Minky, no, Minky. And Minky, not funny. And so, see, the tone of voice changes again, right? So I filed the complaint, and then they offered me a cash settlement, and I turned it down because I knew if I accepted it, then they just, right? So now Canada, actually globally, Vancouver is one of the leading places here. And I contacted Spark, which administers all those placards for disabled parking. They weren't interested in coming along with my systemic complaint. I'm like, but then of course once it gets passed and the legislation and all that stuff, oh yeah, we helped. Like, whatever. But I mean, it's about helping everybody, right? If we let dogs understand that they're safe, they're not going to try to attack. Hi, silly boy. Here's William on his bone. Hello, silly boy. Hello, David. Hello, silly boy. Hello, silly boy. Hi, David. So we have that because they know I'm going to intervene. So that, right. All right, I'm going to let everyone go. Thanks a lot. And those of you who watch in the beginning, you'll see where I got that Barry Bonds card. That one's really awesome. So really happy about that. I'm getting some other ones if you guys follow any sports trading cards and all that. Some are going to be quite awesome. All right, bye-bye. Hi, Lincoln.